Something about your face is changing, and people can feel it, even if they can't explain why. It's not about beauty nor vanity. It's an energy that speaks before you say a word. The way your face holds silence, the way your eyes seem to know more than they reveal, this is what draws attention. There is something ancient, almost sacred, behind your expression. I am Shi Hengyi, and today, we will explore why your face has become a mirror of something far beyond appearance. In Shaolin philosophy, the face is not just the surface of the body, it is the reflection of the spirit, the canvas of your internal world. Every line, every stillness, every flicker of emotion carries the memory of discipline, awareness, and alignment. When your mind becomes still, your face changes its language. It begins to speak the language of peace, calm, unshaken, magnetic. People start to notice, not because you seek attention, but because you embody harmony in a world that has forgotten how to rest. This is why they are talking about you. They feel something through you that words cannot describe. Throughout this message, we will uncover the unseen connection between mindfulness and presence, why your face becomes luminous when your spirit is clear, and how the ancient Shaolin monks understood this as a sign of true inner mastery. You will learn the spiritual truth hidden in the mirror and how to align the face you show the world with the essence that lives within you. Stay with me until the end, and you will see your reflection differently, not as a mask, but as a sacred messenger. Welcome to Shaolin Soulfire. And if these teachings awaken something in you, join our circle by subscribing below. There is a silent language your face speaks long before your mouth opens. It tells the story of your inner world, of storms endured, of peace cultivated, of lessons learned in silence. A person may try to hide behind words or posture, but the face never lies. It carries the truth of the heart in every small movement, every breath, every subtle shift of the eyes. I have often told my students, the mirror is not the glass in front of you. The mirror is your own face reflecting what your spirit holds. When the mind is restless, the muscles tighten, the eyes dart, and the jaw locks. When the heart is tranquil, the features soften, the gaze becomes gentle, and the breath flows naturally. This is the first lesson of Shaolin mindfulness. The inner and outer are one continuous movement. There was once a young monk in the temple who struggled to hide his frustration. No matter how calm his voice sounded, his face revealed tension. My master said to him, "Your face moves before your words do. Train it through stillness, not control." In time, as the monk learned to observe his thoughts without attachment, his face changed. It no longer wore the weight of resistance. Instead, it radiated quiet strength. When you walk in awareness, the face becomes an instrument of truth, not performance. Every expression born from mindfulness carries power. This is why the Shaolin path does not seek to decorate the face but to cleanse it, not with water but with understanding. The more you align thought, emotion, and breath, the more your face becomes a reflection of harmony. The world sees it, even if they cannot name it. They are not reacting to your appearance. They are responding to your energy. Every face carries a story older than the person who wears it. Look closely, and you will see traces of those who came before you, in the shape of the eyes, the curve of the lips, the way emotion gathers around the brow. These are not random features. They are the quiet imprints of lineage, the echoes of ancestral memory written into flesh. The ancient masters taught that our faces are living scrolls, recording the journey of blood and spirit. Generations of choices, joys, and sufferings are woven into the expressions we unconsciously make. When anger rises easily, perhaps it is not only yours. When sorrow feels familiar, it may belong to someone long before you. To master your face, then, is not to control it, but to bring light into what it has carried for centuries. There is a story of a monk who spent years in meditation, not to escape the past, but to understand it. Each day he would sit in silence before a still pond, studying his reflection until the water became calm. Over time his face softened, not because he tried to change it, but because he stopped fighting what it remembered. In that surrender, he healed the unseen burdens of his ancestors. Discipline in this practice does not mean suppression. It means awareness deep enough to feel where inherited pain lives within your expression and to release it through breath, compassion, and stillness. When that happens, the face no longer belongs to one person or one time. It becomes a bridge, a union between the past and the present, between those who gave you life and the consciousness you now awaken. This is how mastery begins, not by erasing history, but by redeeming it through understanding. In the Shaolin path, mindfulness is not limited to thoughts or breath. It extends to the smallest movements of the body, even the subtle play of muscles beneath the skin. The face, more than any other part, reveals what the mind conceals. A slight tightening of the jaw, a flicker in the eyes, a shallow breath. These are signals of inner turbulence, messages from the unseen world within. The monks are taught to sit in stillness until awareness deepens beyond posture and thought. In that quiet, they begin to sense how every emotion leaves its trace upon the face. At first, the movements seem involuntary, like wind across water. But as mindfulness grows, something remarkable happens. One no longer reacts blindly. One begins to observe. The face becomes a reflection, not a battlefield. There is a saying in the temple, to master the face is to master the instant before expression. It means to dwell in the space between feeling and reaction, to choose how the inner world translates into form. This is not control in the rigid sense. It is freedom through awareness. When the body and mind are integrated, the face follows the rhythm of presence, not emotion. I once heard of a monk who practiced smiling without intention, not to appear kind, but to awaken gentleness within. Over months of silent sitting, the tension around his eyes softened, and the calm he cultivated spread quietly to others. It was not his smile that moved them, but the peace behind it. Through this discipline, the face becomes an instrument of mindfulness, each muscle responding to stillness, not impulse. In this harmony, the practitioner learns that true expression is not performed. It is revealed moment by moment through awareness. Long before mirrors were made of glass, seekers were already searching for their true reflection. In the Chan tradition, masters would ask a question that cannot be answered by the mind. What was your original face before your parents were born? It is not a riddle to solve, but a doorway to enter, a call to look beyond the shifting expressions, beyond the inherited name and form, to the essence that exists before identity. To sit with this question is to meet the mystery of being. The mind will search for images, childhood memories, features, stories, but the inquiry asks for something deeper. Who are you before the face, before thought, before the idea of you even arises? When the monk contemplates this in silence, the tension of self-importance begins to dissolve. Layers of personality, pride and pain fall away like dust. What remains is awareness itself, clear, vast, untouched. An old story tells of a student who meditated on this koan for years. He tried to imagine his original face until one day during morning chores, a bowl slipped from his hand and shattered. In that instant of shock, he saw there was no face to protect, no image to uphold, only life unfolding freely. His master smiled and said, "Now you have seen what cannot be seen." The koan invites the same awakening in each of us. When we release the obsession with how we appear, we return to what we truly are: stillness behind movement, silence behind words, being behind the face. To remember this is the highest discipline, to live not as the mask, but as the space that gives it life. In this understanding, the original face is not found, it is remembered. True discipline begins long before movement. It begins in the space where intention is born, where thought shapes expression and expression shapes destiny. In the Shaolin way, discipline is not limited to the body's strength or endurance. It extends to the unseen harmony between face, voice, and heart. A warrior of awareness trains not only how to move, but how to be. The elders in the temple would say, "The body speaks louder than the mouth." They meant that integrity reveals itself without words. When the heart is conflicted, the eyes wander. When fear hides behind politeness, the breath tightens. When ego takes command, the face hardens. These small betrayals of truth cannot be concealed by cleverness. They are the cracks through which the world glimpses our inner state. There was once a young disciple who tried to imitate his master's calm expression, hoping to appear enlightened. But his eyes trembled with effort and his smile strained with pride. The master said gently, "Peace cannot be performed. It can only be lived." From that day, the disciple stopped rehearsing calmness and began to practice honesty with himself first. Over time, his expression became natural, his presence clear. To cultivate integrity is to make all layers of being move as one. Thought, emotion, and body align in silent agreement. This alignment is not perfection, it is truthfulness. A disciplined face does not hide emotion. It reflects what is real without distortion. Such a person does not need to prove sincerity. Their presence itself communicates it. When expression flows from inner truth, there is no tension to maintain, no image to protect. The face becomes transparent, the voice steady, the energy whole. This is the Shaolin discipline of expression, not control, but coherence. There's a kind of power that makes no noise. It does not come from movement, persuasion, or appearance. It arises from stillness. When one becomes deeply still, something in the atmosphere changes. The breath slows, the eyes soften, and the face becomes like the surface of calm water. People sense this, even without understanding it. They are drawn to the quiet, the way thirsty travelers are drawn to a hidden spring. In the Shaolin teachings, stillness is not emptiness. It is awareness without disturbance, a space where energy gathers instead of scattering. When you hold yourself in that calm, your presence begins to speak louder than words. Your face reflects balance. It becomes an anchor in a restless world. This is why others take notice, why your silence seems to echo more than their noise. A story is told of a monk who was once asked why so many visitors sat quietly in his presence without asking questions. He smiled and said, "They come to rest in the stillness I no longer resist." His peace had become magnetic because it was genuine. He was not performing serenity, he was serenity. Stillness trains the face to settle into truth. The muscles no longer chase expression. They rest in neutrality, ready to respond but not react. From this inner quiet, the gaze becomes clear and open, not demanding attention, yet impossible to ignore. It is not beauty that draws people in, but balance. The more you cultivate this stillness, the more your face becomes a reflection of what others seek but rarely find. Without effort, you remind them of what calm feels like. In your stillness, they sense themselves, and that is the silent depth everyone is talking about. The face has a way of revealing what the mind tries to hide. In moments of stress or conflict, it becomes a mirror of the shadow within. A tightened jaw, furrowed brow, flickering eyes. These subtle signals betray the turbulence of the inner world. They are not flaws. They are messages, honest and unyielding. Ancient masters observed that when the body and mind are misaligned, the face carries the first evidence. Anger suppressed too long shows in a cold stare. Anxiety unacknowledged gathers around the eyes like storm clouds. Even silence can betray the tension held in the lips or temples. The face becomes a battleground, not because of what is happening outside, but because of what is unresolved within. There was a student who grew frustrated during training. His movements became harsh, and his instructors noticed the tension etched into his face. One master said, "See what your face carries. It tells you where you are not yet free." The student learned to pause, observe, and name the agitation instead of acting on it blindly. In time, he began to read the mirror of his expression as guidance rather than shame. Conflict is a teacher. The distorted expressions on the face are feedback, signaling where boundaries are crossed, where fear and ego dominate. Awareness of this allows discipline to emerge. By recognizing the shadow reflected in the features, one can choose response over reaction. The face in conflict is never the enemy. It is a messenger. To master it is not to hide or control, but to understand the roots of disturbance, to meet them with clarity and calm. In this practice, the mirror becomes a tool for insight, and the shadow within the face transforms into a guide toward inner mastery. Breath is the bridge between the seen and the unseen. between body and spirit. In Shaolin meditation, it is more than oxygen, it is the movement of qi, the life force that animates every cell. When the breath flows with awareness, it carries energy through channels that run beneath the skin, along the body, and into the face. These microchannels, the meridians, are subtle pathways where emotion, vitality, and clarity converge. A tense or shallow breath creates tension in the face. The jaw tightens, the eyes harden, the skin loses its natural softness. But when breath is regulated, slow and intentional, qi circulates freely. The face responds instantly. It softens, brightens, and relaxes. A luminous face is not born from makeup or symmetry. It is the reflection of internal harmony, a visible sign of energy flowing without obstruction. There was once a monk who practiced daily breathing exercises while gazing at his reflection. At first, his features remained rigid, caught in old habits of worry and restraint. Yet, with each cycle of deep, mindful breath, his eyes softened, his lips loosened, and a subtle radiance appeared. He did not seek to change his face. The face changed because the energy within him became coherent. Qi is not controlled by force, but guided through presence. When the energy flows naturally, the face becomes alive, expressive, and effortless. Every expression communicates vitality. Every subtle shift carries intention. The practitioner learns that mastery is not the act of shaping the face, but of cultivating the internal flow that allows it to reflect life fully. In this practice, the face is a living map of qi, a mirror of discipline, awareness, and vitality. To honor it is to honor the breath that sustains it, the energy that enlivens it, and the mind that guides it. Through breath, the unseen becomes visible, and the face becomes a window into the harmony within. There's a subtle trap that captures nearly everyone, the need to be recognized, admired, or accepted through appearance. So many anchor their identity in how others perceive their face. A slight smile, a carefully held expression, a mask worn for approval. Yet this attachment binds the spirit, and the face becomes a prison rather than a reflection of truth. In the Chan and Shaolin traditions, students are guided to release this grip. The teaching is simple but profound. The self is not in the mask. The face is a tool, a vehicle for presence, but it is not the essence of who you are. To cling to it is to mistake reflection for reality, to trade inner freedom for the fleeting judgment of others. A story speaks to this truth. A monk spent years polishing his appearance, attempting to radiate calm and wisdom. Visitors praised him, unaware that his mind quivered behind the practiced smile. One day, his master asked him to sit silently and do nothing. No effort, no display, no pretense. At first, discomfort flared. His face twitched. His ego protested. But gradually, as he surrendered performance, a deeper expression emerged. It was not crafted. It was natural. A face aligned with being rather than perception. Detachment does not mean neglect or indifference. It means understanding the difference between essence and image. The face becomes a reflection of inner clarity, not a shield or decoration. Discipline lies in observing impulses to control how others see you, and choosing instead to let presence guide expression. When the mask falls away, the face speaks honestly, not for approval, not for fear, but from alignment with the self. Freedom arises not in changing the face, but in freeing it from the egoic chains that distort it. In this way, the face becomes a tool of mastery, a window into the depth and calm of an unbound spirit. The eyes reveal more than words ever could. They are portals, windows through which the world senses presence, intention, and depth. In the Shaolin and meditative traditions, the gaze is not a tool of judgment or force, but a practice of discipline, a way to align what is felt inside with what is perceived outside. It is soft, yet penetrating, calm, yet attentive, and through it, the invisible becomes visible. A wandering gaze reflects distraction, a restless mind, an unsettled spirit. But when the eyes are trained, they carry clarity without effort. They do not chase or demand. They simply rest. In that rest, people feel recognized, acknowledged, and even understood, not by words, but by the stillness and truth behind the glance. This is why a face can draw attention, why it can command silent respect. The eyes speak before the lips form a single sentence. There was a young disciple who struggled to hold eye contact during meditation. He tried to force his gaze, believing intensity equaled mastery. His eyes hardened, and the practice felt heavy. The master instructed him to simply see without grasping, to allow his attention to settle like sunlight on water. Over weeks, the disciple noticed the transformation. His gaze became steady, gentle, and yet impossibly clear. Others began to notice his presence, not because he sought it, but because his eyes no longer hid or reached. Mastery of the gaze is mastery of subtlety. It teaches patience, awareness, and compassion. The eyes reflect the alignment of mind, heart, and spirit. When they rest in calm authenticity, they become anchors for those around you. In learning this, the face becomes more than a mask. It becomes a silent messenger, a living testament to inner mastery that draws attention naturally, without effort, without performance. The face is rarely what we think it is. It is not a prize to display, nor a reflection of achievement. In the Shaolin way, it is a path, a journey that mirrors the unfolding of the spirit, a living record of discipline and awareness. Every expression, every subtle movement is part of that journey, revealing progress not in perfection, but in presence. There was a student who arrived at the temple seeking to appear wise and composed. He studied the master's faces, trying to imitate calmness, clarity, and strength. Yet no matter how carefully he practiced, something remained off. One elder told him, "The face is not finished, it is lived. You refine it as you refine your being, moment by moment." The student realized that mastery was not about external polish, but about internal cultivation. Over the years, through meditation, movement, and mindfulness, he began to notice subtle shifts: a softened brow, a relaxed jaw, a gaze that no longer chased approval. These small changes reflected the work he had done inside. His tone, his posture, and the silent rhythm of his presence began to harmonize with the awareness he carried. The face was no longer a performance, it was a mirror of the path he walked. In Shaolin practice, there is no finish line. The face, like the spirit, is continually refined. Mastery is ongoing, because life itself is a process of growth, awareness, and alignment. Every day brings new opportunities to adjust, to soften, to awaken. The face responds naturally to this inner work, luminous in stillness, expressive in truth, and always moving toward deeper coherence. To walk this path is to honor the face as a living teacher. It is not the reward that matters, but the cultivation it demands. Each reflection in the mirror becomes a reminder that mastery is a journey without end, and the face is both compass and companion along the way. Your face is more than what the world sees. It reflects the harmony, stillness, and clarity you cultivate within. When thought, breath, and energy flow together, the face becomes a living expression of your inner mastery, calm, present, and deeply magnetic. Remember, this is not about appearance or approval. It is about alignment. Each moment of awareness, each breath carried with intention, each expression held in truth, strengthens the connection between who you are and how you show up in the world. The face becomes a doorway, not to impress, but to embody presence, integrity, and calm. In daily life, practice observing yourself gently. Notice tension, micro-expressions, or agitation without judgment. Return to stillness, regulate your energy, and let authenticity guide your expression. Over time, your face will naturally reflect the depth of your being, and others will feel it, even without words. Carry this lesson softly into every interaction. Let your face be a mirror of discipline, mindfulness, and inner freedom. In this practice, you are not shaping your face, you are awakening the self that lives beyond it, moment by moment. If this teaching resonates, allow it to settle in and join our community by liking and subscribing to Shaolin Soulfire. Let us walk together on this path of quiet mastery, presence, and inner light.